Have you ever felt like every breakup was somehow your fault? That maybe if you'd just done something differently, you'd still be together? Here's a reality check. Sometimes it's you thinking that, but it's not you causing the breakup. There are so many myths about breakups we carry around like baggage, and it's time to unpack them. Today, we're exploring 12 breakup myths that can keep you stuck, make you doubt yourself, and prevent you from moving forward. 1. The relationship was a waste of time if it didn't last. A lot of people believe that if a relationship ends, it was a waste. But let's listen to Oprah Winfrey on this. She once shared that every relationship she's had taught her something valuable, even if it didn't end in happily ever after. She said, "Turn your wounds into wisdom." Every experience holds a lesson. Maybe it taught you what you don't want, or what boundaries you need. That's worth something, isn't it? 2. Only toxic relationships end. A relationship doesn't have to be toxic to end. Michelle Obama talked about how she and Barack worked through tough times. It's clear that healthy relationships face struggles too. She mentioned in her book Becoming that they needed hard work and a lot of soul searching. They grew together through challenges, but they also admitted not all relationships find that balance. Sometimes two good people just aren't good together. 3. It's all my fault. We often want to point fingers, especially at ourselves. But Brené Brown, who researches shame and vulnerability, reminds us that we're often hard on ourselves in breakups. In her book, Daring Greatly, she wrote, "What separates privilege from entitlement is gratitude." In breakups, take stock of what you learned without drowning in guilt. Ask yourself, what am I grateful for in that relationship? 4. You can be friends right away. Some people believe staying friends immediately after a breakup is a sign of maturity. But Esther Perel, a relationship expert, says in her podcast, Where Should We Begin? Separation requires space and time to process. Sometimes friendship is possible later, but you don't need to force it to feel okay about moving on. 5. Moving on quickly means you never loved them. Have you heard people say that if you move on too quickly, you never truly cared? Taylor Swift, in an interview, once noted how she heals through her music, saying, "I need to write about it and then leave it behind." Healing is personal. Everyone's timeline is different, so don't let anyone else's opinion determine how long it takes you to move forward. 6. Breakups mean you failed. Jay Shetty, author of Think Like a Monk, talks about how each chapter in life has its purpose, even the painful ones. He said, "Failure is simply the opportunity to begin again." A breakup doesn't define you, it simply closes one chapter so another can begin. Think of it as life's way of nudging you closer to where you're meant to be. 7. There's only one right way to break up. The right way doesn't exist. Journalist and author Elizabeth Gilbert shared in Eat, Pray, Love how her own painful divorce led her on a journey of self-discovery. She said, "Ruin is a gift. Ruin is the road to transformation." It might be messy, but what matters is that you honor what you need in the process. 8. You have to forgive them right away to move on. Forgiveness is important, but psychologist Dr. Harriet Lerner says in her book, The Dance of Anger, forgiveness is a choice, but so is self-respect. Moving on doesn't mean rushing forgiveness. Sometimes, respect for yourself comes first. Take your time. 9. Your ex moved on because they're happier without you. Comparing healing journeys can be brutal. Will Smith once shared in an interview that you can't measure someone's worth based on the past you had with them. Your ex's happiness doesn't reflect your worth. Focus on your own growth and journey. 10. You have to know why to move on. Tony Robbins famously said, "Change happens when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change." Sometimes we don't get clear answers after a breakup, and that's okay. Not knowing doesn't mean you can't move on. Trust that things will make sense in time. 11. Staying single after a breakup is a failure. Singer Adele, during an interview, discussed her time after divorce, saying, "I learned I had to be my own best friend." There's a unique strength in getting to know yourself, so don't see single life as failure. Embrace it as a time to grow. 12. They were the best. You won't find better. Author Glennon Doyle wrote in her book Untamed, "If you have to dim your light to be with them, they're not your person." Losing someone who doesn't see your worth isn't a loss, it's a gain. Trust that you'll find someone who values you just as you are. Breakups are tough, but these myths make them harder. Remember, it's rarely as black and white as we make it. So next time you find yourself blaming or questioning everything, look at the bigger picture. Growth happens on the other side of these myths. Let's embrace it, learn from it, and keep moving forward. Now, what will you do differently starting today? Share it in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. And as always, let's get better together.